A blood service that gives patients access to safe blood and blood products in sufficient quantity, health experts agree, is a key component of an effective health system. Like many other African nations and some other developing countries, Nigeria suffers greatly from poor culture of blood donation. Research from the World Health Organization suggests that with a population of 200 million people, Nigeria needs an average of 1.8 million pints of blood annually to keep the health of her people safe and sound. Available data from Nigeria's National Blood Transfusion Service, however, reveal that only 500,000 pints of blood are collected every year, leaving a shortfall of about 73.3%. Statistics also suggest that only 8% of Nigerians donate blood freely and that about 80% of donors donate to relatives in need. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to celebrate World Blood Donor Day, we shall be looking at the importance of giving blood. How can the country bridge the shortfall in voluntary blood donation? Our guest on Nigeria Today shall be speaking on these issues in a moment. I am Anne Jibuno. Welcome to the program. Now, with me to discuss safe blood donation is Dr. Adeze Ore. She is the Director Planning, Research and Statistics at the National Blood Transfusion Service. Glad to have you on the program, Doctor.
Thank you so much for inviting me on the program. I'm happy to be here today.
And also in the studio is Nathan John. He is the highest blood donor in Nigeria and has donated blood a record 67 times. Wow. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's start with the basics now. Why should people donate blood, Doctor?
Thank you so much for that question, because it's very important that we answer that question, especially today being World Blood Donor Day. Now, there's so many disease conditions, there's so many emergency situations that give rise to the need for blood. And it's not just blood. Blood that is safe and has been collected and screened in quality processes. So just realize the fact that blood is life. And when that blood is not safely collected, is not safely screened, that blood can cause harm to the person who's receiving the blood. And then again, you consider the fact that blood, when it's not present when needed, is a problem, because a lot of people die from the lack of access to safe blood. And we know that Nigeria is one of the countries with the highest burden of maternal deaths, and that's just on one side. And most of those deaths are due to the fact that many of those women don't have access to safe quality blood when they need it at the time of delivery or during pregnancy.
Okay, now who is qualified to donate blood? And what are the procedures to ensure that only safe blood is donated? I'll still stay with you, Doctor.
So at the National Blood Transfusion Service, we are mindful of the fact that voluntarily donated blood is the safest blood available. And so even when individuals volunteer themselves to donate this blood freely, what we do is we counsel them. We have a session where we do medical checks on them, ask them certain questions just to ascertain or carry out some form of risk assessment, if I may use that phrase, to determine that the blood is possibly safe for transfusion. Thereafter, when the individual is deemed medically fit, meaning that their blood level is sufficient, they haven't given history of any illness that may jeopardize any individual who receives blood from them. I've mentioned their blood level, their blood pressure is also adequate, then they can proceed to donate blood. Thereafter, that blood is also screened. And when we talk about the screening of the blood, we screen the blood for 4 mandatory transfusion transmissible infections. Those are infections that can be transferred from the person who donated the blood to the person who receives the blood. And what those infections are: HIV 1 and 2, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and syphilis. So this way, we do all this using quality processes to ensure that that blood is safe for transfusion to save a life.
All right, Mr. Nathan John, you hold the record in Nigeria for the most blood donations, 67 times. It's no mean feat. What has been your motivation?
Thank you very much. You know, I'm passionate about what I can do without being supported or without being forced to do it. At a point, I see that donating blood to somebody who is in need, to those that are in need, and you see the person coming back to life or depending on that blood is the motivation that I have. And I see to it that once I donate, it gives hope to the family of the victim or even the victim itself. So that makes me feel fulfilled that I've done something to somebody who in return will not be able to give it back to me.
Okay, doctor, let's talk about the shortfall of in blood donation. We notice, we are aware that there's a shortfall. What are the consequences beyond what you mentioned earlier of this shortfall?
The consequences of the shortfall, because earlier you mentioned what the WHO recommendations are and what the blood donation statistics are presently. The implications of that shortfall means that any one of us, any one of our relatives, when they need blood, for whatever reason, it may be from a car accident, it may be children who suffer from sickle cell disease, it may be children or people who have severe malaria infections, people who have kidney disease who are undergoing dialysis, patients with cancer, a whole gamut of reasons. We hear the news with violence and conflict, even victims of such emergency traumatic incidents. What that shortfall means is that any one of us or any one of such victims or patients, when they need blood, that blood may not be available to save their life. So we can't even quantify the number of people who we lose on a daily basis in this country just because we don't have sufficient numbers of safely donated blood that can save their lives at the point of need.
All right. Nathan, back to you. Let's have a mental picture of what you go through each time you donate blood. Do you experience any side effects?
At a point, I've not. It was only initial stage. I think that was around 14 pints. It kind of, you know, anything that you do without repeating, you know, it will have a kind of side effect, and that was not. It was not affecting my blood donation. It's only that at the point I will have a kind of partial headache after donating, but continuous donation makes it so free. Even up to today, it has made it to me that I don't have any problem. There's no side effect in donating blood. It's only good for me the day I get to the lodge and donate. That night I sleep like a baby. I sleep like a baby, and it gives me more joy because I know what goes out of me.
Okay, doctor, I'll just have to ask this. Is there any side effect in not donating for those who are, you know,
It's a waste.
who can donate?
So earlier on, watching some of the interviews the studio had conducted on the Vox Populi on people on the streets, and someone said that he won't donate because he's not sure he has enough, and he doesn't want to lose the one he has. But I would like to speak to somebody like him, and to him and others like him, and say that the body has a natural way of removing that blood from your system every month.
Yeah.
So when you don't donate that blood is still going to go. So you think you're conserving your blood, but your body is going to flush out that blood naturally every month. And so, like my hero here, Mr. Nathan said, it's a waste.
So there's something as too much blood in your system?
Yes, there's actually a medical condition with too much blood. Okay. But to avoid that, the body flushes out the blood naturally.
All right.
So I would encourage people to donate blood realizing that you are not conserving your blood by not donating.
All right, I'll still stay with you, Doctor. The theme for this year's World Blood Donor Day is Give Blood and Keep the World Beating. What informed the choice of this theme?
So we've all been through a traumatic year. 2020 was a year like none other. And because of the peculiarities of the pandemic and the isolation that came with it, what was experienced all over the world was a reduction in available blood units because of that isolation. A lot of blood donors couldn't go out, blood drives couldn't be held in communities the way they usually were. And it seemed like the heartbeat of the world slowed down. And it brought to the fore the fact that with blood pulsating through the veins of people, through the veins of the world, it keeps the world beating. So nothing other than the year 2020 inspired the theme for the 2021 World Blood Donor Day. Because we realized that by people volunteering, people like Nathan, volunteering to donate blood regularly, it ensures that pipeline of safe blood in the veins of people who need the blood and keeps their hearts beating, therefore keeping the world's heart beating.
And what should be the interval between donations, Doctor?
So for men, we recommend that they can donate every 3 months, which means in a year they can donate up to 4 times. And then for women, because of their own body peculiarities, we recommend every 4 months so that women can donate up to 3 times every year.
Okay. And now you're still watching Nigeria Today. We'll pause for a break now. To stay with us. This is Nigeria Today, and we still have Dr. Adeze Ore. She's the Director of Planning, Research and Statistics at the National Blood Transfusion Service, and Mr. Nathan John, the highest blood donor in Nigeria. Now, Dr. Adeze, I'll have to ask if selling blood is illegal in Nigeria.
According to the National Health Act of 2014, selling blood and any other tissue of blood is illegal. And so when blood is accessed or made available for a token fee at a registered establishment, that is for processing and it's not actually selling blood, because you can't actually put a price on blood. Anybody who has themselves or a loved one required blood at any point in time will tell you there is no price that you can put on blood.
All right. Now, are you aware that some hospitals and health centers sell blood? If this is illegal, why is this happening?
Middle of last year, there was a public hearing at the National Assembly, and the bill that was brought to the public was a bill for a National Blood Service Commission. And one of the issues that led to that bill was the recognition of unscrupulous practices that take place in several health facilities. And so, even though I've mentioned that the National Health Act states clearly that certain practices are illegal in this country, there's a need for a legal framework that empowers the National Blood Service, Nigeria's National Blood Service, to effectively regulate the practices surrounding the provision of blood services in the country, just so that Nigerians are protected. And thankfully, that bill has been passed by the National Assembly and should be forwarded soon to the presidency for assent. This is to safeguard the lives of Nigerians and protect them from such unscrupulous practices that can jeopardize their lives and well-being.
Now, is there really any health benefit or danger for persons like Nathan or others who donate blood regularly?
I couldn't even have put this better than he did. Because when we as advocates talk about the benefits of blood donation, it's always good for the public to see living examples of what we advocate. Rather than harm, there are so many benefits to the health of regular blood donors. And so that is why we at the NBTS, the National Blood Transfusion Service, are working closely with strategic partners such as the media. NTA has been very, very, very instrumental to our taking the message nationally for people to know the benefits of safe blood donation. We're working with the National Orientation Agency and many other departments and agencies that can help us to propagate this message nationwide down to the grassroots, so that people understand that even though it may seem like it's a harmful process, because people will tell you their cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, family beliefs that make them feel like blood donation is unsafe and harmful. So we need the collaboration of strategic partners to work with us to speak to Nigerians in languages that they understand, using examples of people like Mr. Nathan, advocates like him who are regularly donating blood and living productive lives. There's nothing that beats a living example, and so we're thankful for people like him. And that's why globally, voluntary blood donors are recognized and celebrated not only on World Blood Donor Day, but every single day of the year.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Nathan, have you been able to convince maybe your friends to join in donating blood? Well, what do they say when you tell them to do
Thank you very much. This is I don't know how to put it. You know, when you tell somebody, you know, eating food is different from giving blood, and some of my friends they always made me to know that, you know, that needle, they call it like that, the needle, when they insert it in you, how do you feel? I think one of the things, one statement I always make is that when you know exactly what you are doing, you will not feel about the pain, because it's about saving the life of the person. Okay, imagine your friend, your mother, being in that situation of, you know, wants blood, and you there's nothing you can do. And I believe that is the only person that you can extend your love to, because she is your mother. Okay. So always I tell them that it's possible that you can do it if you really want to do it. Don't mind.
Has anyone, have you been able to take someone?
Yes, before now, in the last 2-3 years, I've been able to talk to about 70-something of them, and they are donors, though they are not in Abuja. I have some of them in Kaduna and in Edo, even in my state. Wow. But recently, they asked me a question that they will not be able to do it again because they don't see what is coming out of it. What am I saying? They prefer that if they donate, they should get something in return, and that is another thing.
Okay, now what's the National Blood Transfusion Service doing to encourage people like Nathan who, you know, consciously donate blood freely, Doctor?
So this issue of incentives for donating blood is an issue that is globally being talked about and globally being considered. What the National Blood Transfusion Service is doing as at now is a committee has been constituted by the national coordinator to look into the issue of donor incentives, and through research and dialogue come up with appropriate incentives. Now, the celebration of World Blood Donor Day and the recognition that Mr. Nathan got, the ministerial recognition which he got earlier today, together with the female donor who had donated about 32 times, is also an incentive, because research has shown that when some donors feel more encouraged and motivated to donate and recruit from their communities, recruit their friends, their relatives to donate, when they feel that they are appreciated for the great thing that they are doing. So while the committee is still looking at that, we always honor our regular blood donors. And it's not just on days like World Blood Donor Day. We have teams of counselors that from time to time call up our donors, find out how they are doing, and maintain close links between the MBTS centers and the donors. Aside from that, we send messages on their birthdays, their children's birthdays, and important anniversaries, work or marriage anniversaries, just so that they know that they are part of a family that recognizes what the sacrifices they are making, what they are doing, and hopes to encourage and continue to motivate them to keep saving lives.
And okay, now very briefly, Nathan, what more can be done to encourage more people to join in doing what you're doing? In your own opinion.
I want to say two things,
Briefly.
especially in our parliament, that NBTS should be given, a kind of good ground to work on this issue of incentives, so that more donors will be coming up to donate freely without any question about what will happen to me if I donate.
All right, Doctor, you've touched briefly on this, but towards breaching the shortfall in blood donation in Nigeria, is there any deliberate effort on the part of government in terms of policy formulation, implementation, legislation and all that?
In December, the Honorable Minister of Health launched the National Blood Service 10-year strategic plan. And one of the key components of that plan was a framework for collaborations and strategic partnerships with actors across the country. And when I mentioned these partners are not limited to health. So partnerships across community organizations, partners across ministries, departments and agencies. So we're working, like I mentioned earlier, with the National Orientation Agency, working with the National Youth Service Corps, working with National Health Insurance Scheme, working closely with the media, working with the Federal Road Safety Commission. Now, I've mentioned, these are just a few of the partners, but I've mentioned them to highlight the fact that all these partners are working in different areas, but we all have one unifying factor, and that is Nigerians' lives. So we're looking at working together with them to see how we can increase the numbers of voluntary blood donations in the country. We have a highly eligible population. Nearly 60% of our population fall within the age bracket of safe blood donation. That's 60%. Just imagine a fraction of that number. And these are people aged between 18 and 64 years.
All right. Now I have to cut in here. We're running out of time. For those who may consider donating blood after this program, after watching it, what are the designated places where they can do this? Very briefly, please. Doctor.
So people who are interested in answering our call to donate their blood voluntarily and safely can locate any of our MBTS centers. We have 17 centers across the country. The headquarters is in Abuja, and then we have 6 zonal centers and then state centers. But our website, www.mbtsonline.org, has the details and addresses of our centers. So I'll call on people to donate regularly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That's how far we can go on this edition of the program. Well, Dr. Adeze Ore, the Director of Planning, Research and Statistics, National Blood Transfusion Service, thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me on the program.
And Nathan John, highest blood donor in Nigeria. Many thanks for being part of the program, and keep doing the good work you're doing.
No, thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, that's Nigeria Today. The program airs live every weekday at 7:30 in the evening on NTA News 24, and you can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am Anne Jibuno. Thanks for watching.